Hello, my name is Mahita Patar, and I wanted to make this video for anyone who was interested in my view of OCD. I have had OCD for a long time now. It's been since I was younger, and it kind of goes on and off from, since I was younger. And some years I don't have it at all, and sometimes I have it a lot. And recently I have noticed that I've been having a lot of OCD symptoms, a lot more than I used to. And I just wanted to make a video out there for anyone who may be struggling with it, and maybe they just want to see if anyone out there has the same situations. I have had a lot of struggles with it and did a lot of research on it, and noticed that it's a very common problem amongst a lot of people, and it's actually not a very bad thing. A lot of people who have OCD think that they're crazy or something. And in actuality, after doing a lot of research and talking to a lot of people with OCD, I have noticed that it's actually probably one of the most common mental illnesses that hits the smartest people. So actually, having OCD doesn't actually mean people are stupid. It actually, if anything, means that they're smarter, because it's a lot of worrying about things, and it's not that you're stupid, it's just that you are thinking too much, and you want things to be just right, or you want it to be perfect, and it's because you want things to go right. And it doesn't actually mean you're dumb, it actually means you're really smart. But a lot of people have a lot of trouble thinking that, because it's also painful, and they wonder, why am I thinking like this? And that's how I always thought too. I always wondered why I think like this, just as many people that have OCD have the same thoughts. And there's a lot of different kinds of OCD out there. I mean, OCD is OCD, but it's just a obsessive compulsive thing, but it's different for everybody, and it pretty much targets something that they fear the most. If someone's afraid of getting contaminated, they will wash their hands a lot, or stuff like that, to keep doing it because they fear of getting contaminated. And then there's other people who think that if I don't wash my hands, my mom will die, or if I don't do it like this, my someone that they love will die or get hurt or something. So it's like a fear if they love someone. And there's some people who want to be perfect, who feel that if they don't do things just perfect, that something will go wrong. And I feel personally that I kind of had that, but I was more of a all or nothing thing, where if I couldn't have it perfect, then I wouldn't put any effort into it all, because I figured, well, if it's not perfect, it's not worth doing. So if I couldn't get it perfect, I would totally give up on trying, because I felt like I didn't want to waste energy in getting it half done. I didn't think that getting things done halfway was worth it, because it's just as getting it not done at all. It had to be perfect in order for it to be worth anything. And some people with OCD, they either have those same thoughts, or they may have a different reason for being perfect, where they want everything to be exactly the way they want, or they won't feel happy. And that's kind of the way how I felt, because I felt like if it wasn't perfect, it was just totally not even existent. And I noticed that the only way for me to get it out of my system, which I totally haven't gotten it out of my system yet, but I try to just let things go with the flow, where if it's not perfect, it's okay. At least it's better than nothing. And I kind of tried to change my mind on that, whereas some people find it very difficult, because they're very attached to, having it done perfectly. They don't want to, they get very upset when things aren't just right. Also, there's other people who struggle with OCD from hoarding, and it's not because they really want the stuff or they need it or anything, but they have it attached to a memory, either in the past or someone they loved, or if someone that they loved had, gave them something and they passed away. They tend to find it very hard to throw it away. Or, if someone had like a lot of stuff that they really liked and, they have memories for it, they don't want to throw it away because they feel like, well, what if I need it again? Or what if I throw it away? I won't remember the person that gave it to me. And those are very normal thoughts because, you love someone, so you're afraid that if you throw away the thing that they gave you, that you automatically are throwing them away or you'll never remember them again or something. And it's very hard to throw something away that someone gave to you, like right before they died or something. But I've noticed that if it's one thing or something, it's okay. But I used to be like that too. And the way I conquered it was, well, I'll just take a picture of it, or I'll just cut a piece of it. Like if you have a teddy bear that someone gave you, you could take a picture of it. And if you have a lot of them, you can take pictures of them and then cut little pieces of it and put it like next to the picture, put it in like a scrapbook or something. That way you still have it and you're not losing their memory, but you're not keeping it cluttered in your house. And that's what I found to be helpful with me when I used to save all that stuff that I didn't need. And then they have the other part of it where like, well, it's not that someone gave you, it's that like you bought a bunch of stuff and you feel bad that you wasted your money on it. Now you're not going to use it and no one's going to buy it. And well, what if you need it later? People tend to hoard things like that they don't need at the time, but they never know when they're going to need it. And it's like, well, if you can't use it soon and you'll never use it, then there's really no purpose of keeping it in your house. You can always rebuy it later if you ever need it. I used to go through all that trouble where I'm like, well, I spent like $20 on something. I don't want to throw it away. I got to use it. And no, I don't think anyone's going to buy it. But it's a lot easier to just get rid of something that's like worth money instead of like having all this stuff in your house, and it can cause you a lot of anxiety, and anxiety is way harder to deal with than just losing $20 or $30. Sometimes it's a lot more money than that, and then it's harder to, part from. But usually if something costs a lot more than $100, most likely you probably can get some of your money back. But that's not always the case, but I've always tried to learn to start being open-minded about things. Like, it's way easier said than done. To actually do it is very, very, very hard, especially when you're attached to something. But I try to think of the big picture and think of what's really more important. And sometimes what's more important is your health, not the stuff or being perfect or, any of that. It's just being mentally healthy is really the most important thing, because if you're not mentally healthy, you're actually not going to be physically healthy either. I have had numerous times where I used to worry, because I would be a worrywart. I'd always worry about everything. And I'd go to work and be worried about nothing. And I would not concentrate at work, because when you're worrying, you can't concentrate on anything. You can't concentrate on anything but what you're worrying about. And it could cost you your job and everything. And for me, I used to go to work being very worried about things that really weren't worth worrying about. And it not only affected how I thought, it affected how I felt and how I reacted to other people. And it also affected my physical health a lot too. Like I would feel physically drained because I would be thinking too much. I just wanted to sit down and just keep thinking and thinking. And it's not good, because you will destroy your relationship with other people, like your customers or your clients, your manager, your employee, like people you work with, people in your family, people that you're going out with, like your boyfriend or girlfriend or fiance or husband or whatever. It can destroy relationships with everyone, your friends, everybody. And it really destroys your relationship with yourself more than anybody. And it's very bad to lose relationships with people just because of you're worrying about other things that is not like worth the worry. Now, just because you're worrying, it doesn't mean that you're not like a good person, or what you're worrying about isn't worth it. It's just not worth losing, good, important people in your life over it, or your job or something. And I felt like my worry really hurt me in my job and my relationships with everyone. And I realized, is it really worth it? Was me having to go to work looking perfect really worth losing my relationship over? Was it worth me having to do everything perfect worth it? Because you're always going to lose something. Something is it's not going to be perfect. So you got to see which one is worth sacrificing. Like having everything perfect, or having a good relationship with people and not worrying about whatever it is that you're worrying about, as long as it's not important. And it's so much easier to think about what you're worrying at the time, because at the time, you just can't help the feeling. You can't help it. And even though most people know, oh, well, I know that it's more worth it not to think about, those things, or not to worry about it, because it's meaningless, it's senseless. But what am I supposed to do? I can't help it. I go and I think about it. Because that's what I used to do all the time. I used to think of it and I used to say, well, is it really worth it? And I used to think about everything at work, or everything no matter where I go. And it was just so hard to get off your mind. And it's just a lot easier to say, don't think about it, than to actually not think about it. And it's not like it's going to happen overnight. It's not like, you're going to watch videos, or you're going to get all these helpful tips and then automatically stop worrying about whatever it is that you're worrying about. But if you take it step by step, you could do it like every day, maybe try to worry a little less. Like for me, I would try my very best to kind of change the way I would think about things. Like I'd say, well, okay, you know what? I'm worried about whatever it is here. Like I'm worried about things that are not perfect or whatever. I'm going to try my best to remember it. And when I get off of work, I will worry about it then, and if I can't stop worrying about it at work, then I will try to, when I'm at work, I try to tell myself, is it really worth it? I'm going to lose my friends over this. I'm going to lose my job over this. And try to tell myself that it's, in the long run, it's much better to stop thinking of it. And I try to think of it in a different way, where I'll say, if I think about this one more time, it'll be bad luck. Because a lot of people, what they do is they put in their mind that if they don't think of it, it's bad luck. So I kind of try to reverse it, where I tell myself, listen, I tell myself this, I say, listen, if you think of this one more time, or if you give into it, you can't not think of it, but if you let it get to you one more time, then that's kind of bad luck, because you're going to lose, a lot of important things in your life. And it started to work little by little, where, I didn't have to completely stop doing it, but I would little by little, ignore certain things. I tried to kind of develop a tolerance to it, where I tried to retrain my mind into thinking differently, where when those thoughts pop into my mind, I think of something else that's more important. And another thing that helps me a lot was, usually when I start to think and worry, it's very hard to smile. I feel like I worry, and usually a person who's very worried, they're focusing so much on their worry and everything that they find it very hard to smile. So I learned like every now and then just to, when I feel really, really, really like down and everything, to just like try my best to just stop thinking for a moment, just tell myself it's only going to be a minute. And I just say everything that I'm thinking about, get it off your head. And then I just work up a smile. And sometimes it is hard when you're thinking. But if you manage that smile and try to keep it going, it will automatically start to make you feel better, just to smile. And what I've also learned is, now this doesn't go for people who are not religious at all, but if you're a little bit religious, or, if you believe in God like I do, and hopefully I'm not offending anybody that, has different beliefs, but I know from what I've learned from researching a lot of religions, this is not just one religion, this is most religions. We believe, or most religions believe that, in God, and we believe if we, ask God for, his help, he will kind of help you with those thoughts. And a lot of people think like, oh, well, I'm going to go to a doctor and a doctor is going to help me. Well, yeah, a doctor can help you, like a therapist can help you. But most therapists, they are, with medical and psychology, but they never bring the spiritual aspect into it because of, fear of, insulting someone or offending someone who may not have that same beliefs. But I have done my research on many religions, and they pretty much basically have the same belief where if you're having a bad time, you just ask God for help. And usually it works if you ask God for, like, please get these thoughts out of my head, I want to be at peace, and you really try to connect with God, he will help you. Now, for those people who don't believe in that, maybe you don't have to think of that, but I believe in it. So I believe that asking God for help really works. I mean, you can't just rely on that. That's like the main thing, but you have to also kind of help yourself too, because God always wants to help people, but he also wants you to help, try yourself. He wants you to work at it too. He's going to guide you and help you, but you also have to do your part and try, where, you'll say every time you get a thought in your head, you say, okay, this is not really me thinking. This is like, Satan, pretty much. He's the one who is, putting these thoughts in my head, because everybody has those thoughts in their head. Although some people don't believe in Satan, so they're not going to believe that it could be that, but that's my belief. But nevertheless, if you say, well, God, please help me, I don't want to think these things, I want to feel happy, then you won't, he will help you, and he will, not have him really bother you so much, or at least not have those thoughts go into your head a lot. But you have to do your part too, and try to retrain your brain into thinking of the big picture. Like, I don't want to, I'm going to get these thoughts in my head no matter what. Even when I ask God, to guide me, he will probably make the pressure less, but the thoughts are still going to come into my head. So I have to do something about it. And what can I do about it? How can I get the thoughts out of my head? I can't get them out of my head. So how do I feel better? Well, just think, like I said before, think of things that will help you feel better. Like, don't think of the compulsion or the obsession. Think of, the big picture. Like, do I really need to touch this another time? Is it really going to be better? Because if I always feel the need to touch something, or to be perfect, or to wash my hands, or to do whatever, it's really not making things better. It's just wasting my time, and I'm losing more than I'm gaining. And try not to think of it. Try to stay away from it and try to smile and say, I'm going to walk away from it. And it's kind of like losing weight little by little. One day you'll just do it once where you'll ignore it once. And another time, you'll do it again and again. And you'll see, like, in the beginning, it might feel bad. But if you just let it go for a while, you'll notice that eventually the intensity of the anxiety will start to lessen. Now, like, it doesn't mean that once you feel a lot better that you're completely cured. You can always be cured, but no matter what, you always have to maintain the same mind frame. Like, not go back to obsession or expect the obsession never to come back. The thoughts in your head will always go there, and it's not just you, it's everyone. OCD can affect everyone, but it only really affects the people that let it. So if you have OCD, it's not because you were hit with an illness that other people haven't been hit with, or just a certain amount of people have been hit with. No, you have OCD because you were one of the people who pretty much followed the obsession or let it get too far. And it's like I said before, it doesn't mean that you're stupid or anything. It just means that you're pretty smart, very smart actually, because you want things to go right, but you probably didn't realize that it affected your mental health. And it does cause a lot of anxiety. I noticed with myself that the more I give in to the rituals, the more it'll come. The more I ignore it, then it's not as bad. And it's just so much easier to try your best to think of what's important and to do it, like to be more like to try to use your time or utilize your time more for things that are more productive and more healthy for your brain, as opposed to touching things or counting things. That's gonna probably just waste your time. And not only is it gonna waste your time, but it's really gonna ruin your relationship with a lot of people, because it's very embarrassing, and most people that do it don't like to do it in front of other people and tends to feel very anxious when they're there. Like, I'll give you a story myself. When I was at work and I was a cashier in a grocery store, and I used to always want to touch things 3 times or 7 times, so I used to like odd numbers and do things a certain way, and people would look at me like, why are you touching that or something? And then I'd have to wait till they're not looking. And sometimes I'd forget what number I'm on, and then I'd get anxious and have to start over again and realize that it was affecting me. And sometimes I'd be in the middle of taking care of a customer and I'd still be thinking about it, can't get out of my mind. And I wouldn't smile, I wouldn't talk to the customer, and I'd get in trouble because they're wondering, why am I not talking to them? Why am I not happy? What's wrong with me? And it was very depressing, because it's hard to go to work thinking like that. And all I wanted to do at the time was just go away, just sit down, relax my body, relax my mind, because it was hard to think when I'm working like that, and you don't want to think. It's because your mind and your body work together. So when one isn't feeling good, usually the other one isn't either. And if you're thinking way too much, you're gonna have a restraint on your body. And then when your body starts to feel tired, your mind starts to feel tired, more tired. So it's like, it's bad enough that you're having all these thoughts in your head, and now you're making your body tired, which is making your brain even more tired. So it was really hard to smile, because even my face was tired. I was like, oh, I just want to get out of here. And like, I would look at the time every 5 seconds. And then it led to more rituals, because I'd look at the time and I'm like, oh, I looked at it twice, gotta look at it a third time. But then it was like, well, then I would look at it again after, just because I couldn't wait to leave. And it was a craziness where it was one of those things that made it very hard to go to work. And I realized at the end of the day, why was I so worried? What was I worried about? What was I thinking about? Oh, that I forgot to touch my bathroom 3 times before I left, or 7 times. That's what I was worried about. That's why I went to work feeling miserable for 8 hours. because it's something that I forgot that really made absolutely no sense. You know, that's how I felt at the end of the day. But then it would happen again and again and again. And it's very hard to get out of the habit, but it's something that's really worth it, because when you finally get out of it, it makes a difference. And being uncomfortable is very hard, and it's very impressive when you do it, rather than just saying, oh, I'm going to do it. But when you say you're going to do it and you really put in your mind you do it, and then you actually do it, it does feel a lot better. I also know that there's a lot of people who have another kind of OCD where they have to check things like, well, like locking the door before they leave, or like making sure the stove is, off, or the iron is off. And a lot of people say, well, what's wrong with that? Isn't that normal? Like, you don't want to get robbed, or you don't want to, burn your house down. And for people with that worries, like I've never really had, like I worry sometimes about that too. And, it's normal to think that too. And a lot of people say, well, yeah, what's wrong with that? It's normal. I mean, you don't, like, what's going to happen? I mean, what's wrong with checking the lock or whatever? So one of the things that I could think of is, that I have dealt with, and I haven't had it severe, but I've had thoughts, is that if you're the kind of a person who really feels bad about, like, or worry about the locked door or the iron or the stove, that you do it kind of like in slow motion, where you go to the door and say, I locked the door now. Or you can even have a checklist that says, here, I checked it off, and, have that to, with a date on it saying, oh, I checked it off, until you get used to it. Now, I've had other people say, well, I tried that, but I still worry about it. Well, if you checked it off, and you're not going to check it off unless you do it. So if it's checked off, you've done it. And of course, the worry is going to come, even if you have it checked off, even if because you're going to still have all these thoughts in your head. If you can believe that those thoughts are negative, and you say, this thought is obviously not a good thought, and it's a thought that's trying to control me, and I did it, and I'm going to walk away from it, and I know it's going to be uncomfortable, but I'm going to walk away from it. It will be very uncomfortable in the beginning. But if you can just tell yourself that your health is more important than going to check that door, and you just walk away, it will be better. Now, I know that you're probably going to go to work thinking about it, like I do with other stuff. And it is hard, very hard, to ignore that, But if you, like, have faith, like, I'm not sure whoever's going to watch this, what their faith is. But if you believe in God, you're going to believe that, if you believe in the devil also, not that you're going to believe that the devil is good, but if you believe that there is a devil out there, you will ask God, please get this devil away from me. He's the one telling me, because he's the one putting the thought in your head. And a doctor's not going to ever tell you that, because the doctor can't, not only do they not believe, about, faith, like, in a session, but how is a doctor supposed to show you evidence of a devil? I mean, you just have to have your faith that there is a devil, just like you believe that there's God, And if you have faith, you're going to tell God, because God is the only one that can help you. And you can say, God, please, get this devil away from me, because he's making me believe and making me think that I have to go and check something again. And I already checked it off, that I locked it, but he's making me worry that I have to go, check the door lock. And I know I checked it, and I don't want to worry. And he's making me believe that I didn't. He's trying to go into my head and make me believe that it's me. And he's trying to make me believe that, he's helping me, and that's why, that's why when he does that, he wants you to believe that he's not a bad person, that he's helping you, like go check your door lock. I mean, what if you don't? You'll get robbed. I mean, I'm helping you here. I'm trying to get you to protect yourself, so he's pretending, that he's helping you, but he's really not. He's really trying to get you to go crazy. Just like he does with people that wash their hands, he wants them to not only be mentally crazy, well, at least feel mentally crazy, but he wants them to wash their hands a lot so that they can destroy their skin. You know, he wants to cause as much damage to people as possible. And if you let him win. You got to fight him. And the more you fight him, the more he will leave, because he'll only stick around to those people that let him. Now, that's not to say that if you fight him, he'll leave forever. No, he'll always try. Let me tell you, he'll always try. But he'll come around a lot less if he knows that you are not going to do it. And that's why in the beginning, it's hard because you're still vulnerable. And he says, well, I got to try harder. She listened to me yesterday. Chances are she's going to listen to me again. I just got to try harder and harder and harder. But then when he realizes that you're not backing down, he will say, oh my gosh, I'm just wasting my time. I'm going to leave. And things will be better, especially if you call God's name. He'll be really afraid of that. But then, it's not like he's not going to come back. And a lot of people ask, well, then why is the devil around if he's not good? Why is there a devil? Well, the devil's there because it's God's way of testing your strength. If you can fight him, you're a strong person. And it shows how strong you are because you were able to, pretty much kick the devil's butt up. Like, I'm not going to listen to you. You want me to wash my hands 1,000 times and pretend that it's because you want me to be clean, when in actuality, you want me to wash my hands 1,000,000 times because you want me to go to feel mental anguish and you want me to ruin my skin and be humiliated in front of people. When I go to the restroom, public restroom, I have to be embarrassed of my, or at least I'll feel embarrassed because I'm washing my hands a lot and I don't want people to know that. And I'm going to ruin my skin and I'm going to feel a lot of mental pain, and I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to let you do that to me. So it shows your strength. It shows that someone tried to bring you down, or an entity, a devil, tried to bring you down, and you were smart enough to fight with it. You didn't not fight with it like fighting, but like not let him beat you. You pretty much conquered him. And it shows your faith too. And you didn't do it alone. You asked God for his help. You have faith in him. You say, please, God, get this devil off my back. And it's pretty much, God also wants to do it so you can remember him. It's a constant reminder of him. Every time you do it, you ask him for help. So it's also his way of him wanting you to need him and remember him. So it's not to cause you pain, it's to get you stronger and to also remember him, remember God. So if you can remember that, it'll help you a little bit. Now it's not going to, of course, God, in my belief, God will help you a lot, but it's not enough. You can't just rely on God to do everything. He wants to do everything for you, but he also wants you to be stronger. So you also got to put the effort yourself and try to do it. You got to, do both. It's kind of like when you're at work and your manager expects you to do your work on your own, but he also expects you to seek help when needed. And, that's what it is. And with God, he always wants you to seek his help. So, he always wants you to ask him to remember him. And that's a little bit different from work because maybe your manager doesn't want you to constantly go there. But there's always that open door. But the same thing with God. He always wants you to, he always has his door open for help at all times. And he does it on purpose because he wants you to remember him at all times. And he wants to help you. And that's why he does that, is so you have a reason to ask for his help. And then it'll give you a chance to remember him and know him and get closer to him. And the closer you are to God, the more he'll help you. And then a lot of people say, well, that's not true. Some people contradict it and they don't feel like it's true because they say, well, I have done that and I don't see results right away. And if you have strong faith, you'll you'll believe that everything happens for a reason. And it's hard. Like, a lot of people say, well, I just asked for help and I didn't feel anything. Just because you don't feel it, it doesn't mean that God doesn't know that you're doing it and doesn't have plans for you. Just because it's not right away doesn't mean anything, because sometimes it's to test your faith. Like, are they gonna really trust that I'm here? Are they gonna give God? Are you gonna give God the chance to prove it to you eventually? People want the results immediately, or else they can't believe. If you really believe in something or an entity or someone, you're gonna believe that everything is done for a reason, even if it's painful, and you'll trust that eventually the whatever it is that you're looking for is going to happen. And everything that happens on this earth happens for a reason. And there's a lot of people who are going to watch this video who are not going to believe it because they don't believe in a faith, or they have different beliefs. But most faiths and beliefs have that same point of view. And it is very hard to cope with it sometimes, because when you're going through pain, it's very hard sometimes to think logically, and it's very hard to say, well, I'll just wait for the good to happen, and I know firsthand how that is. But if you can just try to look on the good side and try to look and believe that the good will happen eventually, it will make it a lot easier for you. I have had this like struggle with trying to be perfect for a very long time, and I realized that trying to be perfect is probably the most imperfect thing in this world, because nothing is perfect. And God did not create us to be perfect, because he knows that we can make mistakes. And actually, one of the main reasons we can't be perfect is because it's hard to be perfect. It's impossible. So the best definition of perfect is imperfection, just as the best definition of imperfection is being perfect. Because if you can, or being perfect is imperfection. Because if you can try to not let like things bother you and just move on with your life, that's perfect. Because like ignoring the things that you can't control, that's perfect. And then you can be perfect in that case, where you're not trying to make things absolutely a certain way. I think perfect for everyone is different. And that's why there is no such thing as perfect, because perfect, the definition of perfect is really not much of a definition, because what I think is perfect might be different from what somebody else thinks is perfect. So there is no perfect. There's no perfection. But if you say, well, I want to make my mental health perfect, you can by ignoring things that make you upset. And it's not to say that you're not going to be upset once in a while and really not have any control over it, but it'll be a lot less than worrying about it daily, and you'll be able to deal with it a lot easier, and it won't be as stressful and as hard. Well, I used to go to work every day feeling like I'm like 1,000,000 pounds because of all like the weight I put in my mind and my brain and my head and my body. And that comes to another point for me too, is another thing I learned about what can help you with OCD is also eating healthy. There's a lot of like brain food in herbs, certain herbs. Like if you're on a healthy diet, that will help you actually feel more balanced, and it'll help you. You won't actually feel the urge to do certain things. And it's a lot better than taking medication, because medication doesn't always work. I've never taken medication before, but I've talked to a lot of people that take medication, and unless you really, really need it, it's not going to do, it's not going to be as good as taking, even if it works a little bit, it's not going to be as good as, taking the natural supplements, like, eating fruits and vegetables and eating stuff, that's natural. God gave us those things because he knew that there was things in it that's going to help us. That's why when you eat stuff that's natural, it's better. When you have artificial stuff, it's not from God, it's man-made, and you can't beat something that God makes. So if you're eating something artificial or something, chances are it doesn't have the proper nutrients that something that's natural and organic has. That's why it's always good to eat healthy, because it will help your mind. God provides us with that to help us in life. And it's not to harm us, it's to make us feel better. And another thing that I've noticed that helps a lot is keeping busy. Because I have talked to a lot of people with OCD just when, they talk about it, and I get curious and I ask them, and I'm like, I ask them about their daily life and stuff. And many people who have OCD, because of their OCD or worries and anxiety, they either shut themselves in the house and never leave, or they have so much stress in their life that's why the need to, trigger, what triggers their OCD is that stuff. And you also have to have a proper physical, lifestyle. If you're too stressed or you're not working enough, that's also going to lead to your mind not working. You have to follow a proper diet physically and nutritionally. So if, for example, you are not exercising enough, maybe you should learn to maybe go to the gym or go outside for a walk. Because a lot of people say, well, I don't have money to go to the gym, or I don't have money to eat healthy, or I don't have money. And a lot of those are excuses, because there's a lot of ways that you can work around not having money, because that was actually my problem in life. I've always used to blame money. I never blamed people as much. I would blame money. I used to play the blaming game a lot. I'm like, well, if I had more money, I wouldn't work and be stressed out. If I had more money, I would, eat healthier and go to the gym. And if I had more money, I would, go on vacations a lot more often and feel better instead of staying at home all the time. When instead of thinking that, you should, work with what you have as opposed to what you don't have, and say, well, I may not have that much money, but I'm going to see what I can do with the money I have. I'm going to try to at least buy one or two good nutritional things in the week. And I can't afford to go to the gym. So instead I will walk around the block. If you go to most parks nowadays, they have a lot of gym-like things. Like they have a lot of bars, stools, kind of like the monkey bars, but for adults. And they have a lot of things that you can exercise, like exercising equipment that's stuck to the park. There's a lot of places you can go. If you can't afford a bike, then jog around. I mean, it doesn't cost money to jog around. It doesn't cost money to walk. It doesn't, if you just buy one set of weights, you could, use those weights over and over again, doing different exercises. If you go on YouTube, there's free videos, exercising videos. You don't have to pay money to buy an actual workout video. You can actually look through them through YouTube, and they have some pretty good ones. And even if you buy one and go over that a couple times, it's fine, because if you do the same workout over and over, it's still pretty good. You can get one yoga one and one cardio one. And then if you really can't afford it, online has some pretty good videos that will help you just to start. Even if there's better ones in the store, you can still start with that one. And you'll find that after you do that, you'll feel mentally better and physically better, and you'll feel better at work. And then if you feel better at work, you'll, probably start making more money, or even if you don't make more money, you won't feel as though you're working so hard for just a little bit of money. And so the money, you'll probably feel like earning your money isn't as hard as it used to be. And most likely you will earn more money because you'll probably work more hours and not feel so bad, or, get a raise or something, and then probably start little by little being able to save and afford some of the things that you couldn't. And if that also comes to another thing, if you're working really hard but really happy also, your mind won't be thinking so much about the unnecessary things. If you start to try to, like, instead of obsessing over nonsense stuff, try to focus on the stuff that matter, you will start to feel better, and you'll totally forget about the stuff that you used to remember before, and you'll feel better. But a lot of people say, well, like, they feel like, oh, well, that's true, but then something bad will happen and then it'll trigger it again. Like, they'll have a tragedy in their family or an illness or something, and then their OCD comes back. And that typically is easy because when you're uncomfortable, sometimes it does come back. But if you were able to defeat it once, you'll be able to do it again. Because whatever you did the first time, you just gotta try it again. And the second time will be easier. And then the third time and the fourth time. The more you do it, then your body will be so used to, your brain will be so used to just knowing how to, conquer it. And, life isn't perfect, but you got to make the best of it and be as happy as you can, and try to make the anxiety less. And it's definitely a lot easier to say it than it is to actually do it. But if you take, like, little baby steps and really try, it'll be good. And my best advice, I would think, is to, try it right away. Like, get out of the house. Like, for me, that was the best thing for me, was not staying at home alone. That triggered it so much. And it tends to. My best way is to just get ready in the morning, not be perfect, and get out. And even if it's to start your day like that, where I used to be like, well, I don't want to leave the house until I'm perfect. Okay, then I would talk myself into just getting up before you do anything, before you get anywhere, before the anxiety even starts, before you take a shower, before you do anything. Get up, put your hair up, and just run around the block. If you can start your day off good, you will feel better. And then you go home and you just eat and just say, I'm not gonna obsess right now. I'm just gonna try my best. When you leave, if you're the kind of person that you want to jog around the block or whatever, and you like to check the door if it's locked, just check it once. Say, I'm locking the door, and I'm gonna ignore it. Just say it out loud. I'm locking the door, and I'm not gonna walk away until I lock the door. You locked it. You heard it locked, and you say, okay, I'm walking away only because I know it's locked. If I'm walked away from it, it's obviously because it's locked, because I would have never walked away from my door unless I was 100% sure it was locked. So once you leave, just leave. Just walk away from it. Be strong. Walk away from it. Say, okay, well, obviously it's locked because I wouldn't have walked away if it wasn't locked. And you say, well, I'm going to just jog around the block for like a half an hour. I mean, you'll be back in a half an hour. So you run around and start thinking about your work. Don't think about the door. Just try to think of it. Like, okay, I'm gonna train my brain every time I leave to think about work. Think about this. Or if you don't want to think about work, think of fun things. Like, oh, I'm gonna go to the beach next week, or I'm gonna do this. Think of something happy. Try to put a smile on your face, and then come home, have a healthy breakfast, and then after that, because I wouldn't eat before jogging. And you have a healthy breakfast and then start your day. And you probably feel a lot less stressed because you started off your day healthy and right. You jogged around the block without having to worry about being perfect because you were just going out for a half an hour. You didn't worry about the door being locked because it was just a half an hour. And you came home, you had a sensible breakfast, and now you're going to get ready to go to work. And try to put in your mind that, okay, I do have to look, I got to be sensible for work. I can't just do what I did when I went jogging and just put my hair up. I got to look presentable, but it doesn't have to be perfect. You can just jump in the shower to be clean. It doesn't have to be perfect, because if you're clean enough, that's all you need to do. You can, if you are someone who is afraid of contamination or wants it to be perfect, I would do that deep cleaning once a week, or, twice a week or something, to be deep. But going in the shower and just washing up and just making sure you're cleaning up is really enough. You don't have to deep clean. You can do that once a week or twice a week. And it doesn't mean you're dirty. It means you're healthy. And, just say, this is what I got to do. I got to just get out of the shower, put my deodorant on, put my clothes on, do my hair, my makeup, whatever I have to do. And I'm going to get out. And whatever I forgot, I forgot. Because most likely something important, you're going to remember. If it's not important, you're not going to remember it. Now, there are times where people do tend to forget, important things. But if you're going to worry about that happening all the time, you're going to stress yourself more out. And I would rather forget something important once and have myself worry about it that one time, or deal with the consequences that one time, than have to worry about it all the time and possibly lose more than I gain. Because if you're going to worry every single day of every single hour, you're going to be suffering and losing more than if one time you forgot your cell phone or you forgot something important. Because, in that case, you can go back or get it, or, have someone help you get it. I mean, there's always a solution. And if it's maybe if your job is really far and it was something important for work, and you feel really bad, I'm sure the consequences are a lot less than always having to worry, going to work worried and being upset. That's more of a consequence than forgetting something. And if it was that important, you wouldn't forget it, especially if you used to worry. You probably would remember it, especially if you put it you say, well, I don't want to leave this. I mean, you can't totally not worry. I mean, it's worrying a little bit is okay. It's actually good sometimes. But you can say, well, I don't want to worry about this too much, but I also don't want to forget it. So I'm going to leave it on near the door or something. Or you could put it in your car the night before if you're not working on it overnight. So it could be part of your routine and you could also go through a checklist when you leave. It doesn't have to be crazy, but going through a checklist isn't bad if you don't compulse over or obsess over it. I mean, you don't have to be I'm going to go over this checklist 10 times. You could just go over it once, maybe even 2 or 3 times. But as long as it's not causing you anxiety and as long as it's not being overdone, then it's okay to go over a checklist, real quick, and just letting it just 1, 2, 3, giving it a time limit. I'm going to check it, make sure I have it. I can check it 2 or 3 times, but I'm not going to sit there and really, really obsess over it. Because I know when I used to do that, I used to obsess over it so much, where at first it started at 3 times I'd have to check, then it went to 5, then it went to 7 because I liked odd numbers. Then it went to, at one point it went to a number where I just didn't care. I just said I wanted it to be odd numbers and it had to feel right, it had to feel a certain way. And it kept the more you let it get to you, the more things you're gonna think of to obsess over and have very compulsions over. It came to the point where I used to want to do it without any kind of distractions. I used to be very sensitive to any kind of distractions. If I heard a bird chirp, or if I heard a door close, whether it's a car door or a house door or a refrigerator door, or any kind of noise, and I felt distracted, I'd have to start again. And if I had to start again, I'd have to do it a 3rd time because I used to like odd numbers. And if the 3rd time didn't feel right, I'd have to go to the 5th time. And I just realized that, this is crazy, just to check something or just to do something. So it came to the point where I said, well, I'm going to limit it. And I'm going to keep it to that limit. If I'm distracted, oh well, I'm going to keep going. Just ignore the distraction, just keep doing it. Because you're not doing it for the distraction. You're doing it to make sure you have your stuff. And you just have to limit how many times or how much stress or how often you got to do it. So it's a lot easier to say, I'm going to do it, than to actually do it. But the first step is to say it and really mean it. You can't just say, I'm going to do it and then not care or whatever. You got to be I really want to do this. I think I can do it. I'm going to try it, And you could give yourself a trial period. You don't have to say, okay, I'm going to do it. This is going to be forever. Now you can say, well, you know what? I'm going to try it for 3 days. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I'll try something different. That way you don't feel the pressure of having to do it all the time. Like, trying a new way of thinking and trying to beat the obsessive compulsive. And you don't have to feel bad or stupid or mentally, crazy because you have OCD, because OCD is one of those mental illnesses that actually everybody has. It's just how you deal with it. And a lot of people know how to deal with it where it doesn't become a major issue. Whereas some of us, and a lot of us smart ones, most of us that have it are very, very intelligent, suffer through it because we let it control us. And just as smart as we are to, want everything to be, good and perfect and just the way we want it, we can also get ourselves out of it, because don't we also want peace, mental peace and everything? So just as we want security for ourselves and not to be afraid, we got to also want mental health. And the only way to do it is effort. And if you can conquer it, you got to really be proud of yourself and really see how smart you are, because it's an illness that's very paralyzing, but it's also conquerable. And a lot of people think, well, there's no cure to OCD. Actually, yes, there is a cure. You will always have it. Actually, yeah, there is no physical cure, but you are your own cure. You're the one controlling how you deal with it. The thoughts are going to be there. Everyone has it. It's just how you deal with it. So the cure is learning to deal with it more positively. That's the cure. But you're always going to have it just like everyone else has it. And some people have it, some people that have it don't even know, because they say, well, I don't have OCD. No, everyone pretty much has it. It's just, do you give into it? And if you can not give into it, you're pretty much conquered. And if it comes back, it's because you let it. So it's one of those things that it's like a spiritual thing. It's like, do you or do you not let it control you? It's you or them. It's you or the disease, I mean. And if you can conquer it, then you're cured. But if, it comes back and you let it and you relapse, it's because, maybe you're not practicing it again or something, and you just gotta really try. And if it happens and you conquer it, then it's fine, because thoughts are gonna pop into your head all the time. And just as it does to other people, and you just gotta just deal with it. It's gonna be something that you gotta just have a tolerance for, and understand that you can control it. And if it comes, even if it bothers you every now and then, if you know how to conquer it and control it, you will be the winner of it. And I'm hoping that I haven't offended anyone with this video. I'm pretty sure that there's gonna be some people who may not believe the same thing I do, so I'm hoping that they're not too upset. But I just wanted to pretty much tell people my view. And I'm sure if this helped anybody, I'll be happy for those who I have helped. And for those who I haven't helped, that's okay. I was mostly doing it for people who could use the help. And that's why I made this video. I really don't mean anybody harm. It's just a video of my views on OCD and how I think you can help it. And I hope I help someone out. And like I said before, I really hope I didn't upset or offend anybody. And I know during this video I was very repetition. I also had to kind of, when I forgot what I had to say, or like kind of had a blank in my mind, like what should I say next? I had to say something just to remember to, just keep talking. I didn't want to like have an awkward moment of silence. So I probably did repeat myself a few times, but I don't think that hurt anybody. All right, well, I would like to put this video to end, and I'll probably make more videos. And if anybody wants to put any comments on the bottom below, feel free to do so. Look for more videos in the future, and hope you guys like this video, and there'll be more to come. All right, goodbye.